with more optimism than skill. This was the first public firing of the Park School Catapult.
Novem, Octo, Septem, Sex, Quinque, Quatuor, Tres, Secundus, Primus, Ferre.
Undaunted by ignominious defeat, Park's Latin students and alumni persevere, even to this day.
I believe that the model that we built, called the Mars 1, is still a preferable model. We need a few slight revisions in the bow, seeing as our others broke. Now, this one has a releasing mechanism on it, and I believe that the old Mars 1 can be fixed so that it can have a mechanism by which you can cock the bow and release it all on one machine without having to use special modern devices as cranking mechanisms. This one has quite a walk.
Well, the other possibility of catapult construction could be the lever type catapult. And when the arm is drawn back like this, then the force of gravity and the weight of this of the weight, which we could maybe have something in the neighborhood of 1,200 pounds.
Cable would slip, it'd tear your arms off and your chin right along with it.
Culver, considering Park's record, approached the contest with increasing confidence.
Let's see the angle at which this thing is coming out. We want to know if it's coming up too high or too low. The ideal is 45 degrees with a horizontal. So watch it, everybody watch the shoe and see where it's coming out.
The calendar said springtime, but Park School marched to the contest through blowing snow. A cruel wind had brought bitter cold to the athletic field, a bad omen for someone. It was on such a day that Hannibal crossed the Alps. The catapult arrived from Culver, and for the first time, Mr. Barcio was able to gauge the power of the formidable siege weapon constructed by his opponents. But if his resolve was shaken, he did not show it. Hope, the philosophers tell us, is stronger than memory. The Park School catapult stood 20 feet tall, awesome in appearance, but uncertain in performance. Yet the military cadets seemed unimpressed by their challengers. Loosely translated, that's an impudent snob for peace.
Big 15 for the catapult. You ready? Hip, hip, rock, 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 catapult, catapult, catapult.
Park School had merged with Tudor Hall, a girls' school, so this year's contest was co-educational, a doubtful victory for women's liberation. Park Tudor sophomore David Dortch studies Spanish. He had been barred from the Park varsity the previous year because he did not take Latin, so he built his own catapult, single-handed, in a fit of pique. We cued the Romans and proceeded to lose control of the whole situation. No one disputed the fact that it was very windy. As Mr. Barcio marched to the field to defend his world championship, he was greeted by a former student who said, "Beware the Ides of March." But then, he says that every year. It is difficult, if not impossible, to figure out who is winning a catapult contest. People sometimes wander in front of the camera. Some of the young ladies on the co-ed catapult crews seem to believe that neatness counts. It doesn't, but it's not exactly clear what does. It seemed to us that David Dortch, that interloping Spanish scholar, had the best shot of the day. Park Tudor won on points. And Mr. Barcio again tasted the bitter dregs of defeat. As Thomas à Kempis remarked, nobody loves a loser. He wandered lonely from the crowd, thinking perhaps of next year's Ides of March. If it's animalesimo, nonagentesimo, septuagesimo duo, it must be Indiana. The social highlight of this year's catapult season was a Roman banquet for students and teachers at Culver Military Academy, which is now, obviously, co-ed. There were songs in Latin and no silverware. The principal oration was delivered by the high school Latin teacher who started the catapult craze to revive interest in a dead language, Mr. Bernard Barcio of Indianapolis. He harked back to the rock festival's small beginnings.
7 years ago, it started with one catapult, the Mars 1, which was a bow construction. And the first shot was a 100-pound granite rock. It was a very exciting day. We had one thing going for us that year: the weather was warm, and that was it. Ever since then, we've had snow or rain.
Catapults are traditionally fired on the Ides of March. This year, the contest was held in April, when the weather is supposed to be better. Mr. Barcio's luck was running true to form. A United States Army Reserve unit from Fort Benjamin Harrison helped the Indianapolis high school students transport their catapults upstate to Culver. It was a miserable morning. Feles canesque pluviebat. The weather up north was not much better. There is a saying at Culver: if April comes, can spring be far behind? The Army trucks rolled onto the Culver contest field in the late afternoon. Although seasoned by many a hard campaign, the soldiers marveled at the awesome size of the high school catapults.
See it extending on out there? Yeah. And that boom was on this side of it, and it slipped that way.
Something had changed. The contest had become serious. This year, it was obvious that the students were not kidding around. Dark night fell, and with it came cold rain. The students labored on, preparing their weapons for the fray. It was an ominous scene, if you believed in omens. Now came the appointed day, April 22nd, the day after the anniversary of the founding of Rome. It was chosen because there are no classes on Saturday. Mr. Barcio and his cohorts from Indianapolis North Central took the field with confident stride, undaunted by years of frustration and mishap. Last year, he had been beaten by an independent sophomore who studied, of all things, Spanish.
Yeah, that's... Say a little prayer. Oh, please, oh Zeus. Clear!
Mr. Barcio's team was off to a good start, better than last year, when the rock had gone backwards. Throughout the long, cold afternoon, the catapults thundered, not only here at Culver, but across Indiana. For the fever had spread to Laurel, South Bend, LaGrange, Terre Haute, Portage, and Mishawaka, not to mention Mauston, Wisconsin, and Wallingford, Connecticut. 21 catapults in all, many with counterweights holding 1 ton of lead, all designed and built by high school students. 17 of them actually worked. The machine from Indianapolis Park Tudor stood 25 feet tall. But now, as afternoon wore on, misfortune began to intrude, separating the men from the boys. Cruel fate struck first at Mr. Barcio's nemesis, David Dortch, the Spanish scholar from Park Tudor. So powerful was the force generated by his 1-ton counterweight that it broke the catapult's arm. It looked like certain defeat.
That's a weight, Dave. That was a good shot.
But Dortch was not to be denied. Relying less on Caesar than on Sony, he studied a videotape recording of the shot to determine what went wrong. If the ancient Romans had such instant replay, they might have conquered the world.
That was a good shot, though.
Down the line, Jim Holdgrafer, the star of Mr. Barcio's team, discovered that his catapult had become dangerous. If fired, it might shatter with terrific force.
Try to get something done. I won't be able to fire anymore, though. You know, too much jeopardy involved.
Rather than endanger his competitors and their machines, Jim Holdgrafer withdrew from the contest and spent the afternoon helping his North Central teammates with their catapults. It had taken a year to build his machine, and he had been favored to win. Meanwhile, David Dortch, tied for the lead with Mr. Barcio, struggled to repair his disabled catapult, Ares II. While his mother looked on, the Park Tudor Jr. replaced the broken catapult arm with a new one. The question was, would it work any better than the first?
Hey, Dortch, why don't you wait till everybody else shoots, and if nobody else beats you, don't shoot it? 20.
Nobody can beat you. You might as well take your distance and go to 30.
Go to 30, man. Don't waste it.
Okay. Okay?
I'll go to 30.
Okay, go to 30.
I'll have to go get my 30-pounder.
His machine's working beautifully for him. The tree looks like it's beginning to give up the ghost a little bit. I don't think you can maintain that much strain on it any longer. I really don't.
And we're making it with the machine.
The arm worked perfectly, and David Dortch went on to sweep 4 of the 6 weight divisions in the contest, becoming the first national high school catapulting champion. Culver's massive catapult had been in danger of total collapse since the beginning. The cadets gambled with one last shot in the heavyweight division and graciously gave the honor of launching it to their Latin teacher, Miss Constance Marks. Culver retired from the field with honor, and everyone went to the Roman banquet to await the out-of-state results, which didn't change anything. Mr. Barcio had lost again, but he felt it was his finest day.
Every year I say this is going to be the last year. And every year I go back to school in the fall and find out that the kids won't let it be the last year, and it keeps growing and gets bigger. And I really don't know where it will end. I just hope it continues to be safe.
feet with an 18-pound rock. That's our first official shot. First record Oh, that's yours.